name is Jessy Tolkan, and I'm the Executive Director of the Energy Action Coalition of 50 youth organizations across the US and Canada, united in our fight for a clean and just energy future. And I'm also the director of this amazing gathering, Power Shift 2009, that has brought together 12,000 young people from all 50 states, from all across Canada, and another dozen countries around the world. Because now is the time for urgent and bold action to address our climate crisis.
That's pretty powerful stuff. Now, why are you focusing on bringing youth into the movement?
We think that young people are an incredibly powerful constituency here in the United States. We are also a generation that just has so much at stake when it comes to the fight for a clean and just energy future. We think we bring moral power to this cause. We are just a few months into a historic administration. This past November, 24 million 18 to 29-year-olds turned out to vote, and they elected Barack Obama president. More young people voted in this election cycle than have ever voted in the United States since 18-year-olds got the right to vote. That's some political power. This is a generation, the most diverse generation in American history, that understands how serious our climate crisis is, that understands the economic disaster that our country and our world currently is in, that understands the gross injustice that has occurred in communities across the United States as a result of dirty energy, and the injustice that is occurring all over the world. And so this is the group of people we need to stand up and to lead and to get our Congress and our country moving in the right direction.
What do you think is the biggest threat facing people right now?
I think without a doubt that global climate change is the defining issue and challenge of a generation, and not just here domestically in the United States, but all across the world. We look at the impact of not addressing climate change. We are going to see catastrophic disaster to our planet. We are going to see sea level rise that will make Hurricane Katrina look like it was insignificant. We're seeing the extinction of species. We're going to see massive droughts and famine, not to mention that this dirty energy economy that is driving global climate change is not sustainable either. I mean, it is causing economic disaster. So we really are at this tipping point where, from my vantage point, we have no choice but to usher in a clean and just energy revolution, both here in the United States and all across the world.
Now, what do you think the revolution is going to look like?
The revolution is going to look diverse. It's going to look like young people, I hope, at the forefront leading, with older people behind, following along. It's going to be poor, it's going to be wealthy, it's going to be religious, it's going to be indigenous folks, it's going to be the sons and daughters of coal miners, it's going to be the sons and daughters of former auto workers. I think this revolution is ultimately going to look like transforming everything we really know about our lives, changing the way we get our energy, the way we get our food, the way that our economy runs. It's exciting to think about the fact that we perhaps have the greatest opportunity in human history to make things right that we've gotten miserably wrong in the past. And that's, I guess, where I find the optimism and hope in this crisis. That for a long time we've had an economy that worked really well for some people and left a lot of people out in the cold. And we can develop a new green economy that works for everyone, that creates pathways out of poverty for millions of Americans and for millions of people around the world. That we can get our energy system right. We can erase this notion that there's throwaway communities where we put dirty energy facilities. We actually can rebuild an energy system that's safe and healthy and clean for everyone. The United States can redefine itself in the world. I mean, for 8 years, arguably for generations now, the United States has used its power to consume, to pollute the air, to cause horrible consequences for nations around the world. And we have this moment right now, this moment where the United States could decide that it wanted to truly lead, that it wanted to pass the most bold, comprehensive climate legislation that exists anywhere on the planet, that it would want to go to Copenhagen in December of 2009 and engage with the international community, provide support to nations to transition to a new green economy. I mean, this is it. The opportunity that lies before us is perhaps the greatest opportunity that any generation has ever been faced with.
Faced with the biggest problem any generation's ever been faced with.
The biggest problem, I mean, with the biggest problems come the biggest opportunities, you know?
Yeah.
A lot of people have been commenting on, will President Obama be a great president? And I think presidents and people and generations are in many ways defined by the times in which they live. And so it's a very scary reality out there right now. The science tells us it's almost impossible at this point to fend off the worst implications. But we have this much of a chance, right? The economic outlook tells us, I mean, we may have screwed over an entire generation, but there's a little chance that we could turn that around. And intense times like these offer the opportunity for generations to define themselves in, I think, really remarkable ways. And I think that the 12,000 people that are here in Washington, D.C. for PowerShift 2009, the 500,000 young people that turned out to vote in this election demanding a clean and just energy future, I think they are the beginnings of what that movement for change looks like.
I think the situation does look pretty grim if you look at it. If you look at the science, by 2048, by 2050, we're going to have so many people on the planet. Half of the world's going to be underwater. There's going to be no fish in the oceans, and still all of our corporations are designed upon the destruction of the natural world. How can we turn something so massive around?
The same way that we've ever turned anything around. It's the power of lots and lots of people coming together, united in a cause. I think about my generation. I think about what our power looks like. By 2012, in a political context, my generation will be the largest portion of the voting population in the United States of America. We could essentially control who sits in the most powerful government in the world. That's power. We have enormous consumer power. We pour tons and tons of money into this economy. We can decide that the corporations that are taking the steps towards sustainability, that are using, the capitalist system for good, are the ones that should survive, and the ones that are destroying our planet and our resources and our forests and our clean water, we can help them go down. We're the consumer, right? This is all about building a grassroots movement. I know that the coal industry and the oil industry and the gas industry and mega corporations, international corporations all over the world have a lot of money. They're going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to fight us on this. But we have something they don't have. Well, first of all, we have the truth on our side, and I think that is a compelling place to be in. But I think we have the power of the people. And I think that the 12,000 people here are the very tip of the iceberg. I think there are tens of millions of people around the globe who feel like this is a cause worth fighting for, who are willing to take it to the streets, who are willing to not settle for anything less than real political leadership, who are willing to exercise their beliefs in the marketplace. And I guess fortunately or unfortunately, the creation of a movement, the creation of a revolution is the only chance we have at this point. And so we got to stand up. And the good news is there are people already standing up. I believe that revolution has begun. I believe that movement has begun. And it's up to people to stand up and join that revolution now.
What are you doing to push the revolution?
What I'm doing to push the revolution is continuing to build an incredibly diverse coalition of organizations and individuals in this country who can unite around a common vision for what we think this country needs to do to address climate change and our energy crisis. We know that a movement is only successful if it is truly representative of the people. So we've built a coalition with young evangelicals, with young indigenous people in the Midwest and the Southwest, with future business entrepreneurs, with young environmentalists and social justice groups, with the sons and daughters of coal miners, the sons and daughters of auto workers, African Americans and Latinos and Latinas and Asian Americans, Jews, Christians, Muslims. We've all come together, and this is a significant element of the movement we're building. That there should be nobody who can say, oh, it's just those people, because it's all of us. It's our entire generation, the most diverse generation in American history. We're working day in and day out to transform our own local communities and college campuses into models of the clean energy future that we're fighting for. Like, we couldn't wait for the United States Congress, right? So many years ago, we stood up and we said, I will make my college campus a model of what I want my community to look like. And across the country, we passed nearly 1,000 policies where college campuses have committed to going climate neutral. And that was a great victory, and it was a great first step, but the revolution's not done if college campuses are committing to climate neutrality. So we went to the city level and the state level, and we've passed dozens of clean energy victories on the local and state level all around this country. But it's not big enough. So we took a step further, and now we're getting involved in federal politics. And we are literally going to organize block by block, district by district, community by community, to have this entire nation wired, so that once again the government will work for the people. PowerShift 2009 is about demonstrating the emergence of that political power to the powers that be here in Washington, D.C. On Monday, March 2nd, we will send 12,000 young people to Capitol Hill for the single largest lobby day on climate and energy that has ever happened in this country. We will meet with more than 400 members of the United States House of Representatives and United States Senate. We will fill the halls of Congress. We will rally on the west lawn of the Capitol. And we're not going to stop. We're going to go back to our districts around the country, and we're going to continue that dialogue, and we're going to continue the fight. And it's going to go from 5 people in the streets to 10 people in the streets to hundreds of thousands of people in the streets. And that's already happening. So that's something we just can, everybody can join into right now, and it's only the beginning. I mean, we have a long, hard fight ahead of us, but based on the leaders that I've had the privilege of working with in every state across this nation, in nearly every congressional district, I think we have the important foundation to start from.
Now, it's such an amazing feat what you're doing. What's gone into it? Like, what have you had to do to organize this many people and to get such an event like this?
PowerShift 2009 is so much more than a conference. For us, it wasn't about deciding that we were going to put on an event for 4 days in Washington, D.C. and taking out ads in newspapers. This is about organizing. So we have had a team of 75 full-time organizers working all across the country with nearly 1,000 young leaders in local communities that signed up to say, I want to bring a delegation to PowerShift. And then they worked to fill buses and vans from every corner of this nation. And we supported them to find the funding, to find the resources, to fill their buses with the right 50 people, the right 60 people, and when they hit that marker, to find the funding for the next bus, and the next bus, and the next carpool. It has been, more than 6 months of preparing for PowerShift 2009. It's been a movement that's been growing for the past 5 years. And while our 12,000 incredible participants are going to leave on Monday, March 2nd, it's important to realize that we will wake up on Tuesday, March 3rd, spread back across this country, and we'll start all over again. We'll start planning for the next PowerShift gathering. We'll start planning for our local gatherings all around the country. We will get on the phone and call our members of Congress. We will plan our next corporate campaign to support the corporations that are helping us and to take business away from the corporations that are hurting us. We will force the media to report on this issue the way they need to report on it. We will force our government to respect science. And we'll do that day in and day out, and we'll continue to grow this movement until we win.
Now, how did you mobilize so many young people? Like, how did you get in touch with them? How did you get them together?
The remarkable thing about organizing in 2009 is the availability of new media technology and technology in general that's just at our fingertips, right? So we have the opportunity to start a Facebook group, and the next day there's 5,000 young people in the Facebook group saying, I'm coming to PowerShift. We have the ability to do email campaigns and text message campaigns and create amazing YouTube videos, and that's all great. But I have to say that building a movement is still about old school grassroots organizing, because it's great to have 5,000 names in a Facebook group, but that doesn't necessarily translate to 5,000 people here. And so just like the incredible movements and generations of the past, we pound the pavement, in schools and communities across the country. We walked into classrooms and we gave presentations. We held meetings in church basements. We got on the phones. We called hundreds and thousands of people to not only recruit them to this event, but to let them know what was happening, to ask them to join our effort. We sent emails and letters, and we put up posters, and we chalked on sidewalks, and we got on student radio stations and public access television. We took every resource that was within our purview, and we put it to work in the recruitment for PowerShift 2009. And it's a lot of labor, it's a lot of work. Movements are hard work. Causing a clean and energy revolution in this country is hard work, and it's important for people to realize that. But it's not too hard. It's not so hard that we don't have tens of thousands of people willing to join that fight.
Yeah, do you find people are ready and willing to jump on this cause?
Without a doubt. I mean, the thing about the fight for a clean and just energy revolution, about fighting global climate change, is within the solutions to this crisis lies the intersection of so many things that people care about. I mean, at the core, this is about justice, right?
Yeah.
This is about every single person on this planet having the basic right to breathe clean air and drink clean water. It's about the basic right to be able to live in a community that does not have a cancer-causing coal plant in your backyard. It's about the kids in Marsh Fork, West Virginia, not having to go to elementary school in the backyard of a coal mine, right? I mean, this is about justice. This is about fighting for healthy communities. This is about fighting for economic justice. The idea that everybody should have an opportunity to be a part of the economy. That everybody should be able to have an opportunity at getting a job that helps transform this nation into a new energy system. This is about international justice. That as 4% of the world's population that is emitting 25% of the CO2 on the planet, that it is only just for us to take responsibility for that, to dramatically and immediately reduce our carbon emissions and help the nations around the world that have disproportionately been impacted by our efforts. So yeah, I believe at the core, people are decent human beings that care about justice. And I think justice has been at the core of all the great movements we've seen over time. It was at the core of the women's suffrage movement. It was at the core of the civil rights movement and the women's movement and the movement to end apartheid, the movement to end genocide in Darfur. And that's what the movement for a clean and just energy future is all about. So I believe that it is not only easy and within the realm of possibility to engage millions. I think people are just waiting for the opportunity and the on-ramp to take part in this revolution.
And you're giving them that.
We're giving them that on-ramp. My goal is that there is a very low barrier of entry into this movement. That there's no book you need to read. There's no education you need to have. You need to have in your heart a desire to fight for justice, to fight for a cleaner world for all of us, to fight for basic survival. And when you're able to tap into that, and I think at PowerShift this weekend, we've been able to begin to tap into that, right? That tap into that place in people's hearts, that recognition that we have an opportunity to really make history here, to transform the economy and our physical environment and our international policy. If you can tap into that, you create lots of on-ramps. And that's what we need to do, because this movement requires everyone. And perhaps that's something that is a bit different from movements in the past. The only way we win is if we have everyone. And I believe we need everyone. I think we need corporations involved in this. I think we need corporations to recognize the value in doing this. I think we need young people and old people. I think we need Americans. I think we need South Africans. I think we need Australians and the Chinese and the Russians. We need, the Argentinians. We need everyone. We need conservatives, and we need progressives and liberals and radicals and anarchists. I think we need everyone. And so that is like both the challenge and the beauty of trying to build a movement and build a revolution, is how do you ensure that there is a place for everybody to engage?
Now, what's going to happen Monday? Can you walk me through step by step what your dream of best case scenario would be?
On Monday morning, as the doors to the Capitol open, thousands of young people will fill the halls of Capitol Hill, and nearly 400 members of the United States Congress will have their offices filled with young people, young voters that put them there. As we speak, there is a fight going on in Capitol Hill over who can reserve the largest room to meet with their youth delegations. We have the senators from Virginia meeting with their delegation on a street corner because there's 700 of them. We have the senators from New York meeting with them in the rotunda of the Capitol because there's over 1,000 people in that delegation. And all day long, our members of Congress will be doing what they should be doing, listening to the people, listening to the young people of this country issue really bold demands. At 11:30 a.m. on Monday, on the west lawn of the Capitol, we will gather, thousands of us on the west lawn, with rally signs and cheers demanding the passage of bold climate legislation in 2009, demanding an immediate moratorium on coal plants in this country, demanding the creation of 5 million new green jobs, demanding that we pass policy and we go to Copenhagen next December, and we once again be the leaders that we know this country can be in the world. And we'll listen as the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, addresses all of us, and I'm sure presents to us her enormous accomplishments as Speaker of the House. And we will applaud those accomplishments, and we will look at her and we will say we want more, and that is not enough. And then we'll spend the afternoon testifying in front of Congressman Ed Markey's Committee on Energy Independence and Global Warming. We will hear firsthand from young people directly impacted by climate change. And we will end the evening with members of Congress at a congressional reception where, again, we'll thank them for their leadership, but make it very clear that they are not done yet, and that we expect that they will join with us in ensuring that Barack Obama's got a piece of climate legislation on his desk to sign before he heads to Copenhagen next December. That's
fantastic. What an accomplishment. You must be
incredible.
So
this
proud.
This is what democracy is supposed to look like. As we left the hall of 12,000 young people last night, and they poured out of the Washington, D.C. Convention Center, thousands of them just stopped in the lobby of the convention center, and they screamed, "This is what democracy looks like. This is who we are." And they said it over and over and over again. And then thousands of them marched to the White House, and they danced and they sang in front of the White House till 2 a.m. in the snow. They feel empowered. They're ready to go. This is what we're trying to build. And it's not enough for it to exist in these 4 remarkable days between February 27th and March 2nd in Washington, D.C. That needs to be replicated in every community all across this country. It needs to be replicated in every community all over the world if we're going to have a fighting chance.